Welcome to the No Ideas Original Podcast. We got episode 124 today. We got a good one. We got Simone Gordon, the Black Fairy Godmother, joining us today. Yo,
Can you see me? Can you see me? I had to change venues.
what's good?
They painted my basement downstairs, so I'm in the bedroom right now.
Hey, Ayatollah, what's up, bro? How you doing?
Tola, what's up, bro?
You in the lab cooking something up?
He always cooking something up. He stay with pots and pans and pings and pongs and making melodies over there. Shout out to you, big homie.
And
How you been, bro?
Ayatollah get busy on them turntables too.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yo, so how your day been?
My day was pretty cool. Like I said, my contractor came in today and started painting our basement. It's gonna come out real nice. I like the color that we picked.
Yeah.
I had a doctor's appointment that went kind of sort of well. I have to work on some things.
Okay.
Nothing serious, nothing too crazy, just a little more monitoring. I think I got comfortable now that I got a kidney. Now I can eat what I want and move how I want. It's like, slow down, brother, slow
Yeah,
down.
I was gonna say that point where it's like you had so many restrictions previously, so now you get an open lane. Like, yeah, I could see how it would be tough to kind of regulate.
Bruh, I got this new love for bananas like it ain't nothing outside.
You
And
don't need to
I
be
was
monitoring your potassium?
Nah, my potassium is good, but it's the other things like what else that I like? I've always been a big sweet guy, but I don't have anything, no sugar issues like that.
Mm.
But my pressure, it just increased a little bit.
Oh.
So and when they seen the numbers, it was like, all right, not bad, but I want better. You know what I'm saying? So they
Mm.
asked me to at least record my blood pressures for the next week,
Mm.
and if they sustain where they are, then we may need to adjust a couple of things. But if it does go down, which I'm sure it will, because I've been dealing with this so long, I kind of know what rises it
Mm.
and what and where it comes from now. Um, and Janelle says, "Man, yo, now that you can eat now, your portion sizes, bro. Like you ain't got to eat like you the last slave right now, son. So
Uh,
I have to cut it down. You could probably see it on my face. I'm a little bit more chubbier now. My kidney is working, man. But you know what? This is what's saving me, man.
you got
Drink your water.
yeah. Well, I keep on deck a whole
Drink your water.
of it. But yo,
What's up, Joe? I see Joe in the bill. Real Bronx bread.
you got
Shout
you
out
got
to hometown right there.
you got cleared to exercise yet?
Yeah, I'm clear to exercise. So because the weather's been so crazy, I think it was maybe 1 or 2 days. I was out in the backyard throwing a couple up just to kind of see where I'm at laterally. Can I dip? Can I spin? You know what I'm saying? Can I, you know what I mean? Can I use the backboard? Can I, you know what I mean? Let me take my time. I'm gonna pull out the rope, but the weather's just been so you just can't, you just can't. Shout out to you, big homie.
It's
You
unpredictable,
can't
right?
call it.
Yeah.
1 minute is 70, then it's 50, and then at night it's 30, then it go back up to 60. You really can't gauge it. Even though, and be honest with you, that kind of weather, I've played ball in. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
played ball in that type of temperature.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, So I had my doctor's appointment today, which was cool. Um, my contractor's doing his thing. And not much is going on. It's still same old stuff. What's up, Z?
Yo, what up, man?
What's good? Why you sitting in the dark?
Adjusted my light real quick. Let me see.
The light is at the you need
Yeah,
the in front of your face, not behind you.
I was trying to do this too, yo. Since I'm in the room, I was gonna sit with the backdrop. but it made my face dark, so I had to turn this way, man. So I don't want to. Yes, sir, Tola. That's right, bro. Stay healthy, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why you should go to the doctor, get yourself checked out. You know, if you don't have blood pressure cuff and things like that. What's up, Dr. Wade? I see you. Yo, Dr. Wade, I might reach out to you, man, invite you to the show. You know, I did some research on you. I asked a couple of people in the wire out there.
Mhm.
I think she's a great candidate. Dr. Wade, read with Dr. Wade. I think that might be one of our guests at some point.
There
But
you
I'm
go.
surprised you didn't get on me for cutting off my mustache and my beard, yo.
Nah,
son, you look like a total different person.
Babyface Finster.
what made
You
you
know what I'm
decide to
saying?
do that? What made you decide to do that? Who you hiding from?
Nah, nobody. I just decided to, you know, had a lot of grades coming in, man.
But you hide
So
your grades? Bruh.
I mean, temporarily.
Let them joints fly, son.
I am. I'm thinking because I'm thinking yeah. You know what? You're right, Rob. I'm gonna just let it. I'm gonna let it go. I'm gonna let it do its thing.
I know what you're doing. You're chasing them young girls. You don't want to throw them off like he old,
Nah,
son. He old head. What they say after they call us? Old head. You an old head, son.
Man,
Nah. I'm an old head, but yeah. I just wanted to start, you know, something new.
Feel you. It looks good
I
on you,
actually
boy.
was gonna cut my hair all the way down, but I said, nah. I just get it. I got it faded to temp in the back.
you was
You know what I'm
about to you was about to go with American History X? No.
Nah, man. Not that crazy. Not that crazy. Yeah.
Man. So yo, we waiting for the Black Fairy Godmother to join us. Thank you everybody for pulling up. So she should be with us shortly. Yo, did you guys see this week? Look like Elon Musk is on Twitter.
Man, there's a lot of controversy behind that. Go ahead, Zane. You probably got more of an insight on this than I do.
I thought Elon made the acquisition. Did he make the acquisition, or is it still up in the air?
I believe so. Sis is in the building.
Shout out. All right, let's go.
This is in the building, so we resume the conversation, I guess, after the interview. Let's see.
Awesome.
Hello.
Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Good
Ladies and
evening.
gentlemen, we have the Black Fairy Godmother, Simone Gordon, joining us. How are you this evening?
Big, beautiful smile. Look at that smile.
Thank you so much, and I'm surrounded by three amazing kings, so I'm blessed tonight.
Appreciate that.
Thank
Look
you.
at it.
Look, I have to say, I admire the work that you're doing. I think is admirable that you would even take up this challenge, you know, and especially being, I think, somebody young and of color and a woman. Like, I tip my cap to you, because I think that this generation needs more leaders, and what you're doing demonstrates leadership in the community. So, you know, I'm really excited to have you on and have a conversation with you.
Thank you so much.
Tell us your story. How'd you become the Black Fairy Godmother? And also, how did you know that this was your calling, or how did it become your calling?
Well, let's be honest and be clear. There is systematic racism wherever you go, whether it's the East, West, South, Midwest, wherever. Systematic racism exists. I worked in corporate America at a Fortune 500 bank, but unfortunately, after having my child, I lost my job. So I had to get back into the feeling of the real world of going through unemployment, going through social services. And it was a shocker to me. When you go to these places, they treat you like you're this small.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? Especially when you're coming from an urban environment. At that present time when I lost my job, I found out my son was diagnosed with severe autism.
Wow.
So after his pediatrician provided me with the information for me to go to Children's Specialized Hospital, I kept getting a runaround for 3 months straight. There was no availability. Call many nonprofits. They tell you to call 211. Some of the numbers they give you are out of order, meaning the nonprofit or the agency no longer exists, or they don't want to answer the phone. And some of the big nonprofits, as we know, don't really serve our community. They just send you to a voicemail or put you on a waiting list. So I got frustrated. Single Black mom living at home with her family. I said, listen, you know, I'm responsible for my son, so I'm going to ask people on social media, where can I get help?
Nice.
Right.
And at the time, there was a Facebook friend at the time who said there was a group called Reparations or Offerings, and there was a lot of Caucasian individuals with wealth who could basically assist me into getting help for my son. So I joined that group and I explained the situation. My son is severely autistic. I get $200 a week in unemployment. I'm pending with food stamps, and I need depends, which is medical supplies. Can anybody help? So there were 4 women, one from Washington, one from Pennsylvania, another one from Manhattan, and another woman who was in California, all who come from wealth, who joined forces and said, we're going to go ahead and challenge Children's Specialized Hospital as to why a black young child is not getting the services that he needed. We're going to contact Target to get some coupons to get Depends. And then the woman, Kimberly, and her husband, who's in Washington, who were privileged, decided to take a faith on me and put me back in college, and I graduate June 3rd.
That's dope.
God
Congrats.
bless
So
you.
that's how I.
Congrats.
So I said to them, I said, while you guys are buying Coach bags and Ferraris and boats, we have people in our own community struggling. So I'm battling them in the group, and they're like, well, you know, we have the Red Cross, we have the Salvation Army, and I said, our community don't see one dime. If my house was to go up in flames, my family will only get 2 days to stay in the worst neighborhood hotel ever, and not even get Depends or food or whatever for my son. I said, so everything you guys are doing for me, all the blessings I'm getting, let me bless my community. And I said, can y'all join forces? They start calling their friends who were with Wall Street, the stock market, the doctors, the lawyers. I said, all you guys, let's join a group and let's just change the world and help everybody who's marginalized. And within months, I just went viral on Instagram and Facebook. And that's how everybody from California, Compton, Miami, Chicago, Brooklyn, New York, everybody start chanting the Black Fairy Godmother of the Hood.
Yeah.
And I just went with it, and that's how I got all the press.
Yeah, that's dope.
That's dope. That's dope. So let me ask you. You seem to be so resilient, and the power of paying it forward. You know, how has that fashioned you today?
I mean, what can I say? A lot of people are coming forward, especially a lot of women who need help. And they go, but you don't take a salary, you don't take a dime, but you get a lot of publicity. That publicity is because I want it to go straight to our community. I want to make an awareness.
Right.
I don't care about the dollar. We have a lot of Black organizers, no names, who is making profit off of Black people's pain. But with everybody that's like in England and China, we have some people in Switzerland. At the time we had Ukraine. They're all coming on my platform, donating dollars, buying off an Amazon list. Women who are coming out the shelters are actually getting their house furnished because of the Wishlist Angels. So I just became creative with people in power and who have privilege to give back to us. And I never thought that it was going to get this big. I started 2019 with just 100 followers, and look at me now.
Yeah.
Listen, amazing. Man, I went on your website and you got over 39 different ways to give.
Yeah.
Mind you, the list is enormous. Some of them took my heart, like the homeless teacher fund. That's like,
Yes.
wow, and it's funny because, not funny, but we had a show with a gentleman, shout out to Ozzy Oliver, out in California, about Skid Row and homeless people, man. You have electricians, doctors. I mean, you wouldn't even imagine the amount of people that are homeless that have regular jobs.
Yeah.
And I talk about that in every interview. Even I challenged Kelly Clarkson. I even said, there's probably people that's working in your studio who's a janitor and a secretary, but don't have a bed to stay.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Or a paper.
That's a fact.
They didn't like it, but you know.
Nah, it's just the truth. You gotta speak the truth, man. Truth, shame the devil. Real.
Can you tell us how you got on the radar of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation?
Let me explain to you. You never know who's watching.
That's a fact.
You never know who's watching. During the pandemic, I raised $150,000 worldwide by having everyone who volunteers sign up for Instacart accounts and to send food to families. And some of the seniors didn't even want to come out their houses, so we had to help pick up their prescriptions. So I went global and made sure that everybody was taken care of, especially our people.
Mm.
So make the long story short, I started getting calls from the Tory Burch Foundation, where she helped me create the
Mhm.
Fairy Dust Scholarship Program. I'll talk about that later. And different celebrities start chiming in, and they start tagging me in different things. And one day I was home with my son, and you know how junk mail, you get that plain mail, that white envelope you think
Yeah.
is coupons. I went to toss it, and something told me to open it, and I opened it, and it was a check from Bill and Belinda Gates.
Wow. Wow.
And it helped feed and house a lot of families for the rest of 2021. We didn't have to fundraise, really.
Look at that. Look at that.
You
I
know,
want to
that's good.
go back to something you were talking about in terms of like community organizers. So to me, to be a community organizer, you have to be a brave and a special soul. It seems like in particular in our community, there's a lot of heat that people have for community organizers. Why do you think that that comes up so much in our community?
Because we see a lot of community organizers and activists that are on social media and who's actually in the community just for clout waves. And what I mean for clout wave is that they will make it good, they will make it look good on media, but they're actually not pushing in and doing the work.
Mm.
They're collecting the dollars and cents.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm more realistic. I put the receipts out there. I put the videos and the testimonials out there. You know, some of them live a lavish life, so that's why a lot of community organizers and activists, they get a lot of heat, because people are donating, but they don't see the product. They don't see the results. Like, where are you when somebody kid is getting shot up? You will only show up if that kid is in the media real big.
Mm.
Right.
Or what, you know. So that's the reason why community organizers get a lot of heat, and I try my best to advocate. We can't always think that everybody's a scammer, because there's a lot of grassroots organizers who are on ground getting their feet and everything wet, their hands, their hair, doing what they could do for the, you know, for the community, the kids, and also the seniors. And I had an interview with a community organizer, and she was like, well, community organizers should be able to collect a check. You're right,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, you're collecting a check, but what are you giving back to our people?
Mm-hmm.
There you
You
go.
can go and be doing TED Talks with a whole bunch of Caucasian people, and you can get that $20,000. But at the end of the day, they know what's in our history books. They know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
we don't have to continue to teach them anti-racism work. It's there.
Yeah.
You
Right.
can Google it.
Yeah.
So basically, you're making a profit off of our pain. So that's how I feel about it.
I'm
You know.
I'm in agreement. Like I do think that community organizers, if it's a full-time job, they should be able to collect a paycheck. And the reason why I say that is because I think that there's a lot of criticism, in particular from our community, where people say, "Oh, this person's only doing it for a check." But even if they're doing it for a check, and if it was that lucrative, we all know if it was that lucrative, everybody and their mom would be trying to do it. I'm not saying that there's not a lot of people that are there are a lot of people that are profiting off of pain. There are some people that are doing the work and they deserve to be compensated, I think, as a result of doing
Correct.
the work. I just wonder sometimes that how come that same level of scrutiny doesn't come about for other community organizers of other race, you know, for other people. And so they could take a check off somebody and they don't have the same level of scrutiny that we are subjected to. You know, like there are high levels of scrutiny. And even I would imagine you got to realize it, because that's why you have such high levels of transparency. Like, let me show the bill. Let me show the receipt. Here's the testimonial from the person. You have to show all these things.
I had to do it.
Yeah.
I had to do it because at the beginning, not to cut you off, I started getting a lot of heat. During the pandemic, there was a lot of Caucasian community organizers, okay? And they were getting upset because myself and two other Black community organizers were making a lot of money putting it in, because at the time, during COVID-19, our people was the one who was dying the most.
Suffering the most.
So they're like, well, where's the receipt? Where's the receipt? I said, okay, well, let me show you the receipt. Let me give you the video of Ms. Brown talking through her door, scared to come out her door because of COVID-19. So when I started doing it, others started getting on board, but I had to do it because when other nationalities saw that our people were succeeding in helping our people, we got the big backlash. And I thought it would most come from our community, but it was coming from others
Mm.
because they don't want us to get
Or
ahead.
keep you
They don't
oppressed.
want us to be creative.
Yeah, keep you oppressed or rely on
That's
somebody
right.
else.
That's right. That's right. You know, community organizers. Shannon and I had an opportunity to meet a sister out in Brooklyn, and you know, one of the things that we have in our urban communities are food insecurities and food deserts. And this sister by the name of Yemi Amu in Bushwick, Brooklyn, has created a urban farm. I wanted to know, how did you get the corporate relationship with Instacart in regards to food? And have you ever thought about creating an urban farm in those communities or any
The
community?
urban The urban farm is actually something that I was actually going to come out with. I am, graduating with my health science degree, and I'm going to go further with having a health farm, and also planting herbs and different things. So I'm going to get back to that. I'm glad you picked that up, or you probably read my EPK. But how I got the Instacart is during the pandemic, we were tagging them consistently, showing them that we're sending emergency food to different communities. They were, at the time of the pandemic, charging people $50 to get food delivered.
Wow.
And I was tagging them, and I'm like, listen, people are going hungry. Why are you doing that?
Right.
So that's how I got the corporate relationship, that they are waiving all of the fees that we're
Right.
sending food to different families. And I had some people say, well, there's different food pantries, and there's different trucks that's giving out food. But at the end of the day, people have dietary restrictions. Everybody can't eat from a can.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And this gives you an opportunity to control your food. And Miss Yemi out in Brooklyn, I think it's about 2,500 square feet she has, Shannon.
Yeah.
And she's growing everything from everything. I mean, she's even brought stuff from Nigeria that she's growing right there in Bushwick, Brooklyn. And the projects is right across the street.
Yeah.
And she's feeding the community. She feeds a pantry, and she's growing carrots, potatoes, peppers, cucumbers, everything nutritionally, organically, right there in the heart of Brooklyn. I actually, after this is over, I will definitely send you her information. So maybe
Please.
y'all can link. You know what I mean? Because
We could connect.
she builds aquaponic farms. In the process of aquaponic farms, like you raise fish organically to fertilize your fruits and vegetables. And that symbiotic system just continues on. So she grows fruit all year round. You know what I mean? It doesn't stop in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't stop in the wintertime. So I think the two of y'all be a great match with what y'all got going. So I'm gonna definitely send you that information, man. For real.
Dealing with
Thank you.
Very well.
these different regions that you contributed to, do you find that certain regions are deprived more than others?
Yes. And we're going to talk about that. I don't know where you guys are from, but I'm from North New Jersey, and I've been around people. North New Jersey, Brooklyn, Philly, DC. We think that where we come from is deprived. I get a lot of Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Texas. When I tell you there's no resources for them, there's no resources for them. If they owe a light bill, they're just going to have to figure out a way. If you Google any nonprofits that have, electricity assistance, it doesn't come up in their states. So that's why I decided to open up and do all marginalized communities across the U.S. It's times where they may have low income housing, but their food stamps is only $191, and a mother may have 6 kids.
Yeah.
So what I created was Amazon wish list and Target wish list that will have dry foods and toiletries on there, and I would do quantities of 6 so that it will last for 6 months, as far as the toiletries, the toilet paper, the dry food.
Right.
So I strategically done that, because what can you do with the $191 worth of food stamps?
Yeah.
And what can you do? Exactly.
We talked so far in this interview. We talked a lot about race, which I'm happy that we are discussing race, because I do think race plays a huge factor in this. Do you believe that it's important for you to be the face of this mission, and if so, why?
I believe I am, I believe that I should be the most important face of this mission, because I lived all through my life being marginalized. I dealt with living in a room with my son who's severely autistic, living in my parents' room. I shared that.
Mm-hmm.
I shared having to put pennies in the bus to get to work and having holes in my shoes.
Mm.
I dealt with having to walk on a highway to trace over to go to a temp job. So I know every woman and every man who's going through it. I've been there, and I know that I could be the face, or I am the face, because I lived it. So I'm just proud that I just put it on Facebook. It took me 12 years to become stabilized,
Mm.
but I didn't do it on my own. With all the community, all the men and all the women that's surrounded around me, that's where I got to where I'm supposed to be. So I'm just trying to build our community up where we have to show some accountability, amongst each other, even though there are privileged people out there that have money that can help. But we have to be accountable for each other and ourselves so that we can go forward.
Yeah.
Because they're always going to try to bring us down.
Yeah.
But what can we do to help ourselves?
Yeah, I
that's right.
appreciate that because
That's right.
I think you are the perfect person for this mission based on me reading up on you and just seeing like the things that you had to endure. That I think that this is one of the occasions where lived experience has a substantial amount of value. You know, I was watching a story on the news the other day, and they were talking about homelessness in New York City and the increase in homelessness. And on the task force, they had a gentleman that has been homeless for many years, and he talked about how him and his son was couch surfing, and they were asking him like specific questions, and you could tell that he had far more insight into how to eradicate homelessness than a professional may have had based on his lived experience. So
Mm-hmm.
given the fact that you have this lived experience, I think it just enhances your ability to do this work.
Yeah, I'm 8 years strong. 8 years strong doing this work across the U.S., and I'm just going to continue to do it. With my team of volunteers, we think of creative ways to make people eat. We also have a 90-day program where a lot of families join our 90-day program of stability. We have realtors who can assist a lot of mothers who are unable to get apartments because of whether they're felons or whether they have bad credit. We have some real estate agents that are in different states that helps try to build a relationship with private landlords to house some of these moms. And if you go on my Instagram, you can see some of the moms posting videos of their new places or the key to their apartment and their leases because, it took them a long time to get out of the shelter or stay at the extended stay. There's many people living in hotels right now just to get by so that they won't sleep on a bench.
That's a fact.
And I'm glad you used the word stability because I read your mission statement where you're restoring the stability of family to remove barriers in Black and brown families. There's a quick little quote that I found or a little stat that I found while researching you. Between 1890 and 1960, Black marriage rate was 80 to 85%. For 70 years, 85%, right up until the 60s. And right as the 70s and 80s came, it just started to drop. Now, the Black marriage rate or the family put together is at 27%. So what you're doing, I mean, it's very much needed. But we can get back to that, I believe. I think we can get back to at least 50% of marriages, 50% of families living stable lives and helping one another. I think that's where it is in our value system about one another. We need to value one another so we can support one another, and then we can live the way we want to live. Let me ask you this. Talk about grandma a little bit and the impact and the impact she left on you and her presence.
Let me explain something to you. My grandmother was one of a kind, and I know we all had those Black grandmothers, right?
That's right.
My grandmother was strong. She worked all her life helping the privileged, and she wanted what was best for her children and her grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
When I had my son and he was going through his health issues, she didn't want to hear any excuses on why I couldn't be a mother or be the woman that I am today. She told me, I said, well, the doctor said he would never eat or walk again. She said, just because you're reading a book don't mean that you got it and don't mean that you're smart.
God bless.
Later on, my son was able to walk. She taught me how to cook. She taught me how to be a woman alongside with my mom. But the day that my grandmother passed away, I was going to a program at Bloomfield College to be an LPN. I was taking a test. And an hour before the test started, my dad called me and told me that my grandmother had passed away. So that's why I went ahead and I left the test, which I shouldn't have. And she passed away instantly. So I owe my degree that I'm getting June 3rd to her because she never wanted me to give up. You know, my grandmother gave out to everybody. She had 15 children. So everybody in the community used to come to her house to eat out of those big silver pots. You know those big silver pots your grandmother used to have on the stove?
And everybody ate and some.
Everybody ate out of there. Everybody on the street, right? She used to make the sandwiches. You will not leave her house empty-handed.
That's a fact.
And that's where I come from. And a lot of people say I look like her. I'm taking on the torch that many of our ancestors had left behind.
Right.
And I just want to make grandma and our ancestors proud as possible. They fought for us. And I just don't want to disappoint them. I want to bring back everything that the 60s and 70s, including the 80s and the early 90s, what we had. And I think we lost that. I think because of technology and TV changed, it changed a lot of people's mind frame as well.
And the systemic racism as well.
Yeah.
That played a large part, man. Because even in what I quoted about the marriage rate, you know, we have 72% of babies being born by single mothers. There's no fathers. You know,
That's true.
And that in itself is, you know, is a dichotomy of just, you know, not a healthy family structure for a child when raising them. But what you're doing with young sisters is at least getting them started and feeling self-sufficient about themselves.
Keyword.
You know, it comes from you first, man. You know, one of the laws I learned was self-savior. You are your savior. Now, we can talk about religion and all that stuff, but you have to still do the work.
Yeah.
You know,
because I gave birth alone. I gave birth with an emergency C-section alone. So when a lot of these young ladies come to me, you know, and tell me about their stories, I said, hear my stories. And they go, wow, you did all of that in the past 12 years? I said, yes. So let me teach you how you could be strong and move forward. I have a young lady right now who's in Baldwin Hills, opened her own first black nail salon.
Yeah, that's dope.
For being a part of my platform. So there's ways.
Authentically Diamond says, I'm so proud of you, sis.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's beautiful.
Just to piggyback on what we briefly discussed as far as with single moms, what do you think? What do you think is the major or one of the major several factors of the misconception of why women stay with their whether husband or significant other when they verbally and physically abuse them? What's like what do you think is the biggest misconception with that?
Self-esteem, lack of resources. Also, not just the lack of resources, the lack of support within our families. You know, sometimes in our families, I don't know what you guys' families the dynamic is, but there are certain families within our community that just don't care. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to help Christina or Tina get out of a domestic violence situation. And even if Christina or Tina was to try, if she was to go to a shelter, do you know automatically they call DIFAS or Child Protective Services on the woman? Yeah. So it's like you're running to get help, but it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't, that they're going to take my kids, and that's the only thing I have. So, you know, that's why people go, well, you can go to shelters. A lot of women can't. So on my platform with domestic violence, we don't put the women in shelters. We put them in Airbnbs, and we have a program with extended stay. And depending on how severe the situation is, we always put them in Airbnbs for safety. And we put them up for 90 days. We'll fundraise the money on our social media, or if funding is available, put them in an Airbnb, and for 90 days, we work on a program with the realtor. We work with certain people to get them, Amazon lists. We also try to see if there's any community college that have a focus center, that have a trade where they could get within those 90 days or 6 months or more. So people don't understand, even though you go for help, there's always a trick where they're trying to put you down. So that's why some women just stay to like, well, I might as well stay anyway.
Right.
I had a father that was raised in the 60s, and he didn't play that. So that's how I was blessed enough to get out of my situation and say, no more, I'm not going to be used emotionally and financially. And I went on with my life. But everybody don't have that. So I try my best to give that to women by some of the volunteers that's on the platform who can help them along the way.
Yeah.
And there was
It's
a quote.
trauma.
Many
There
people
was
many
Go
people
ahead, Sha.
don't know that the Black Panthers were started from a food program,
Mhm.
from providing food programs and being a grassroots organization, and here you are. I think what happens though sometimes is, when you're doing these kind of things and you have these efforts and you get notoriety, sometimes the corporations find their way to you and they want to be of a support. But I think also when you invite the corporations in, it sometimes can lead, if you don't manage it appropriately, to mission creep, where other people's agenda have been intertwined into whatever your mission is. So my question to you, with the notoriety that you're getting and taking off, and you built this such a strong grassroots operation, how do you stay on mission without? I'm sure the corporations are around the corner, like, come on, partner with us, let us help you out.
All money ain't good money. And I
Say
have a
that
good
again.
friend.
Say that one more time.
All money ain't good money.
Amen.
Excuse me for my language on your podcast, but I'm not whitewashed. It's a lot of corporations, let's be honest. But I have a friend who is dear to my heart. His name is Shaka Zulu, and he is a part of the leading Black Panthers Party in North New Jersey, and they do a food reentry program every Saturday in North New Jersey. And Black Panthers started that years and years ago.
Yep.
And he taught me to be very, very careful of what money I'm accepting. A corporation could give you $100,000, but what's the
strings
gimmick on
attached?
that?
Yep.
Yeah, what strings attached to
Yeah.
that money? That's right.
And when my lawyer reads it, he goes, Simone, I don't think that this is a good fit. They want something in return.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that could be a backlash, because if you're giving me money, you're not going to tell me what to do with it, or what type of food I'm going to give somebody, or what type of brand of food, or if I can't buy a child a laptop so that they could study at home because they're scared to go to the library because, certain things happen in the neighborhood where they just can't. So you can't do that. So sometimes with a lot of partnerships, I do honestly back away. But then there are some good corporations who are for the Black-led organizations, and they're willing to assist and tell us, do it where it's most needed.
Right.
And those type of corporations is where I do work with.
Yeah, sometimes like some of the organizations we have, they start with good intentions and then they lose themselves because they compromise their integrity for the check. I do think there are organizations and corporations that you partner with and they give you the money and they see what you're doing and they're like, here's the money, do more of it. And there's also scrutiny around that because people believe that when money is handed over, there should be checks and balances. But I do believe that if you vetted an organization or vetted a person well enough, then sometimes those restrictions that put in place end up becoming barriers to prevent people from actually getting the money. Like if your criteria right now, and we'll talk a little bit later about what your criteria is. If your criteria right now is a person has to just produce a bill and you've put that in place, that's a very easy process for a person to get assistance. But if somebody else puts in another process and says, well, we giving this money, but in order for us to give this money, we need the landlord to do this, we need that. There has to be notarized, there has to be all these
Notarized letter. And I don't put people through that.
Yeah.
I don't put people